Hey guys, it's Christina. This is Vox and Guest, and look who I have. I have Shannon Darcy, beloved young siren of the band together indie music community, repping Anger Overdose. We got to get our AOD mention right away, straight off the. Is that one of the new crank? Is that one of the brain? Oh, I have that one too. Isn't it cute?
It's so cool.
I mean, terrifying, but cute, obviously. Guys, it's Shannon. She's here. I'm so excited, Shannon. I am so happy that you're here. You know, I adore you and your music, and I have so many things to talk to you about. But even though you're a friend and family of the show, I am not letting you off easy. You know, I have an intense and insanely difficult opening question for you, just like everyone else. I don't want you to think you're getting special treatment.
I'm scared.
So if there are tissues nearby in case you cry or whatever, just, you know what, I mean, it's going to be, it's a big one. Are you ready?
Oh God. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. You're going to have to dig deep for this one. Cause this is, I'm not messing around. I went hard. Okay.
Hit me.
If you had to choose between having a permanent unibrow or having no eyebrows at all, which one would you choose and why?
Ooh.
I told you I wasn't going to go easy. And it's, you know, presidents have been asked this question. Prime ministers have been, you know, it's, it's a key thing.
I would say I'm going to go with no eyebrows because I can then draw them on however
I knew it. Smart girl.
Yeah. I can do whatever I want. And I might look cool with no eyebrows anyway.
You really might. You're beautiful. You would look cool with no hair or anything. But yeah, okay. I think I would probably do the same thing because you can't. Yeah. Now, had I put the caveat that you cannot draw on eyebrows, would that have changed your answer?
Oh, I don't know.
It's like a double opener. You got two hard questions too.
Yeah, you said one question. What is this? No, no. I would say I'm sticking with no brows.
Sticking with no brows, okay? Because you could always grow bangs if nothing else, right? You know, like there are things you could do. All right, or we could just tape the ends of your hair. Okay, all right. Shannon has humored me long enough, so thank you. Because again, I mean, how are we going to get some sort of journalistic award if I don't ask those kinds of hard-hitting questions? You know, really. I mean, it's my duty as an interviewer. So, okay. All right, Shannon, my love, I have been waiting to get you on this show because I think you know that I feel this way. But at just recently 19, you have done so much already. You are so talented, and I just could not wait to get you on this show and love you up. But I want to make sure that, you know, I know not too many people don't know about you yet, but for the 3 or 4 who don't in the world, why don't we start with baby Shannon, and how you got into singing in the first place?
Okay. So basically I've always loved singing ever since I was really little. I have like memories of being in the car with my mum and her putting the radio on and listening to all these different like types of songs and stuff on the way to school. But I think the first time I actually sang in front of anyone, like a crowd, is we went on holiday to one of these holiday parks, like where you stay in a caravan and all that.
Okay.
And they had a competition, it's just a talent competition, and I think I was either 9 or 10, I think.
I saw this video.
Yeah,
and with you were so cute, just a little bite-sized, bitsy mini Shannon.
Yeah, and I remember saying to my mum, I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And I was absolutely terrified. But once I was actually on the stage and actually singing, I quite like this.
Didn't you sing something from Frozen, or was that a different video? Yeah,
it was for the
first time in forever. Yeah. And the thing is, that's not the Frozen soundtrack. Well, it might get a lot of crap from people. Like that's not an easy soundtrack to sing between Idina Menzel and Kristen.
Yeah.
bell, like not easy. So there were a lot of words in that one. So, okay. Yeah. And you looked like as soon as the music started, you went into like a performance mode. So that was the first time you ever sang in front of a bunch of people. That was it.
Yeah. Up until then, I'd only sort of sung in front of like my mum and my close friends and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was quite funny because during the day you had to sort of like give the team the backing track and all this. And having not done anything before, I handed them my iPod, and I was like, "Here's a YouTube track," and they were like, "Oh, do you use mic stands? Do you want a wireless mic? Do you want a wired mic?" And me and my mum were looking at each other. And I said, and she said on my behalf, because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, a mic stand, maybe."
Yeah. And sure. Three of them, please. We don't know.
It's quite funny if you watch like the whole video. I'm holding this microphone and I'm just stood like completely still. And one of the team, like halfway throughout the song, just kind of sneaks on stage and steals the stand away.
Like, what did we have this year for? It was, yeah, no, but you know what though? I mean, it even there, and I thought that when you posted it, you said something about like, this was the first time, but I didn't know if it was literally the first time, first time being on stage and first time singing in front of a bunch of people can be two different things. But like, there was already, you could tell, that you were born naturally to sing. Your pitch was good. You kind of knew a little bit that you needed to work the crowd, the tiniest bit, and you had all the words, you were ready to go. And so once that happened, then was it like, I want to do that again right away? Okay.
Yeah, it was sort of like, I got off the stage because I'd actually got really upset beforehand. I cried, I asked for my mum to come over. I didn't want to go on stage.
Yeah.
And, I remember I went over to mum afterwards and she was like, "Better?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to go again."
I want that. I want more. So, okay. So then did you at that point, did you ever take like singing lessons? Did you do any kind of theater or anything? Or was it just singing and getting into as many like competitions and performances as you could? Because that would have put you, well, I don't know what it is over there, but here that would have had you in about 4th or 5th grade in like elementary school. So I don't know what they call that in the land of Shannon, but something like that.
Same thing.
Okay.
But yeah, no, so I think I got back from holiday and I already had a singing teacher who was a family friend of one of my friends. So I had been going to her only for about, I think only like 2 months I'd started before then.
Okay.
And I got back from there and I said to her, I was like, I want to do more sort of shows and stuff.
Yeah.
I got back from holiday and I started my YouTube channel. And literally the first video I posted was that video from the competition. And obviously when I did the competition, I ended up winning it. So I had to go back and do the semi-finals and then eventually the finals. So as soon as I started getting into all of that, I started, mum would take me to open mics and karaoke's and just so I could get used to like crowds, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So gradually building it.
And I mean, it's, I don't know. I think you excite me, especially because you did start so young and you still are so young. And so I'm going to end up momming you throughout this entire video. I know it. It's fine. They all call me mom anyway. You know how that is. But it really, to be as self-possessed at your age as you are and to be as talented as you are, and then also to not just to be singing, but to be songwriting as well. I just think there's so much potential for you. And I think it was, I've heard that from so many people who really ended up making a career out of music, that they got on stage and it was almost like a drug. The second that they stepped out on stage and they started singing or playing or whatever it was, they were like, this is it. Like this is, there's nothing else I want to do. There's nothing else I want to be. This is my path. This is my goal. This is my passion. And, and to be now a decade into it, and you're not even 20 yet, it's like, okay, you have a lot of time to get a lot of stuff done. So, but like, clearly your mom was very, and probably is still very supportive of the music. So like, was that just, all your weekends after school? Like, did that just consume things, or did you kind of ease in? Like, how much of your time, at that point became dedicated to music?
Yeah, I think it was sort of like a balance. Like I would have the singing lessons. I remember this because I would have a singing lesson on a Saturday morning, and then I was also part of a theatre school, so I'd go from my singing lesson to my theatre school, where you do an hour of dance, an hour of singing, and an hour of drama. And then obviously I'd have the rest of the weekend, and I did like sort of singing clubs at school and stuff like that. But I think as I got to secondary school, high school, I started doing a little bit more because I sort of, realized it was actually a career I wanted.
Yeah. No, okay. So, and then do you play any instruments?
So it's funny because I have a piano, but I wouldn't say I'm a pianist. Like I've learned songs by watching tutorials and singing along, but I don't know. I can't read music. Like
I thought on some live of yours a long time ago that I either saw a piano or there was like some mention of a piano, and I was like, wait, so I didn't think so. Okay, so it's mostly decorative at this point, but you have it, so at some point you might know.
I know a few songs.
You could do some really badass cover of like Twinkle Twinkle or Chopsticks or something, just and then we'll get somebody to mix it for you, and we'll metal it up or whatever. But okay, so I mean, you knew you wanted to sing, got really into it. At what point did you start writing songs?
So I think I want to say 12 or 13 when I wrote my first song.
Okay.
I wrote it. Yeah, I was about 13, I think. 13, and I wrote it sort of outside of school and in school, because I remember I was in class and I was really bored and I had ideas on a piece of paper, and I just whipped out this paper and started writing ideas for this song. The teacher was walking past and making sure everyone was doing their work.
Oh, okay. So they were on to you. Okay, you were not so slick, but okay. So I mean, like, I'm assuming that's not any of the three that I know, because otherwise, man, were you advanced to be writing this kind of stuff at 12? So, what kind of stuff did you write? Was it like, do you look back on it now and go, or is it like, okay, you know what? Actually, I could do something with this. Was it, and how did you decide to start songwriting in the first place? Because a lot of kids that age will cover things, but they don't necessarily think about writing their own. So
I think the writing comes from, because I love writing anyway. Like I love writing stories. I'm a big nerd, so I write fanfic.
Yep.
I do all that. So by that point, I had just started writing fan fiction as well and writing stories. So the first song I wrote, it was about I wouldn't say I wasn't majorly bullied at school, but there were comments, and sometimes I had a bit of a hard time sometimes at school, and I wrote that based on that. And I mean, I would be happy to like rearrange some of the words and sort of change it up, and do something with it now, because I think it's like, it's not great, but I think it has potential.
It does, yeah.
It was more of a it was very ballady, not sort of anything like I would do now.
Right.
But yeah, the second song though, that was I used that directly from a fan fiction I wrote, and I took words and phrases and characters I'd made up, and I made it into a song. So yeah, I just I took stuff from little bits I did, and that's sort of, I think the songwriting comes from writing as a whole.
Right. If this is a traveled path by Shannon, then we might be in a good place to kind of keep going with it. But so, I mean, I think that's tremendous though, that and it makes sense to me, because later on with the stuff that you're releasing now, thematically, you do talk about things that are difficult, and so it makes sense to me that your first thing that you were really moved to write would have been about something that was difficult, you know, just what, and I mean, to whatever degree kids are being picked on or bullied at school, it's, even if it's only a little, sometimes it can have a huge
Yeah, exactly.
impact. So, I actually, I would love to see what you did with that, because I bet, given that you were already sort of advanced in what you were doing and knowing what you do with emotional content now, I bet you could do something with this. I think we should have the OG Shannon Darcy release of, you know, something that's now 7 years old, whatever. But yeah, or maybe I'll poke you until you send me the lyrics or something. So, okay. So, and then at that point, you know, you were already kind of in the groove with what you wanted to do. So did you take songwriting workshops? Did you do any of that too? Or was it all just you and your natural aptitude for writing?
I did take a few. I went to the odds, you know, one or two with other sort of singing friends I had.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I did a competition when I was 13 called Factor Essex, which was like, sort of like a local version of the X Factor.
Okay.
It was over a period of, I think it was like 6 or 7 weeks, and each week was a different genre. And I met my current singing teacher there.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, some of my earlier songs and memories I have of writing songs is literally being sat in her living room, just messing around with sort of random lyrics and random sounds, and yeah, so I had help, you know, from other people and influences and stuff when I was, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And so, I mean, what's cool is that I remember when I first fell into this community, and, you know, we found each other, as we all do. Right. And so, you know, I was following your page, from pretty early on, actually, I think like back in March when I started with all this.
Yeah.
And, you know, frequently in my feed would pop up this beautiful face with this cool iridescent hair, and sometimes lots of like funky makeup, and sometimes, you know, not. And it was all at that point covers that I was seeing you doing.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with your voice at that point, because, you know, I remember, you know, momming around one afternoon, and I was trying to tune into one of your lives, and I'm in the car and it's, you know, on, and I'm driving and trying to watch and not hit anything, you know, you remember. Yeah. So you were like, please be careful. Thank you for watching, but please be careful. I was like, don't worry, Sean, I'm not going to crash. But, and, you know, and just, one of the things that struck me with you was the range of stuff that you were covering. You know, there was a lot of different stuff, a lot of different genres, a lot of different, you know, stuff that was much more low end, you know, range. And then stuff where you were up in the stratosphere, and, you know, you would take requests from people, and it was just sort of like, okay, let's like sit this kid down for an hour and change, and she's just going to sing everything. And I loved that. Again, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep doing it, but that at your age that you're interested in all of this different music, right? So I was like, okay, you know, wow, like I think I said to you very early on, like, why are you not going for like an X Factor or, you know, like a whatever American Idol type show? And you were kind of like, oh, you know what? And then as I got to know you more, I was like, oh, okay, that's why. Because Shannon has more depth than that necessarily. She wants to be a singer-songwriter, you know, she's doing her own stuff. And I remember when Snakes and Ladders came out, and we're going to get to all of this, and I was just like, holy shit. Not only can Shannon sing, but she can write, you know? And I mean, before we go further, because I know everyone's in the chat going, song, you know, and so we have to give the people what they want. But you have 3 releases on Spotify, right? That I found. Okay. And you just released one August 11th, where we're, you know, it's barely cold at this point. Just been out a couple of weeks, called Freak Show. Yeah. And before we say anything else, is there anything just little bit that you want to drop about it before we play it, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it more?
Okay, I'll just say that if you like sort of the villains in stories, and you find their sort of stories more interesting, then you'll definitely like it. Well, hopefully like it.
Yeah. No, they're definitely going to like it. All right, guys, if you haven't heard the new one by Shannon Darcy yet, you're about to. And if you have, then you know what a treat you're in for. Sit back, listen. Here is Freak Show by Shannon Darcy.
He was nobody, the shadow of a somebody. He lacked attention, rejected perfection. His words of deception toyed with misdirection. And the blood in his veins, it ran in rivers of madness. And the people, they all feared his name, 'cause they couldn't accept him. All except one. She liked what she saw, now she loved what she saw, and she wanted more. Bonnie and Clyde, or the Joker and Harley, twisted and gnarly, they know how to party. A chemical mixture about to explode. Madness and mayhem, what a freak show. Madness and mayhem, they won't let you go. La da 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 da. She was an outcast, the one who danced in the dark. She wanted adventure, an excuse for some fun. She'd line them all up and take shots from a gun. And just like that, what's done can't be undone. And the greens of her eyes, they swam in pools of mayhem. And she laughed in the face of the crowd, 'cause they wouldn't accept her. All except him with his dark brazen grin. The madness within once maniacal sin. Bonnie and Clyde, or the Joker and Harley, twisted and gnarly, they know how to party. A chemical mixture about to explode. Madness and mayhem, what a freak show. Madness and mayhem, they won't let you go. La da 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 da. Manic, misguided, wildly united, they stand hand in hand, future undecided. As the flames surrounding them burns. Partners in crime, devils of design, undercover of love you through Halloween nights up to damned. Souls hopelessly intertwined. Bonnie and Clyde, or the Joker and Harley, twisted and gnarly, they know how to party. A chemical mixture about to explode. Madness and mayhem, what a freak show. Madness and mayhem, they won't let you go. La da 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 da.
Okay, so I love this song. I love all of your songs. I do.
Thank you.
But this one is there's such a confidence to it. You know, your vocals, you know, very sexy. The whole song is slinky and it's cool, and it's just got this very laid back, but also somehow simultaneously intense aesthetic going on.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were first talking about it and teasing the release, and you were like, okay, you know, so like, you know, it's about these, you know, like dark, twisted people who are in this relationship together, and it's all very fraught or whatever. And I was like, okay, you know, where's this going to go? And from the second that song starts, you know, and you just sort of pull us in with the vocals, you had me, you know, and I just, I love the whole idea of, you know, madness and mayhem and Bonnie and Clyde, you know, and the Joker and Harley. And like, it's just, you set it up so well, like,
Thank
you know, what we're talking about, whatever. And so where did that come from? Like, was it purely, you know, just sort of this idea that you said, you know, before we played it, about villains and sort of wanting to tell that side of the story? Does it have other layers to it? But like, what's the freak show backstory?
Yeah, well, honestly, I just love villains. I think like their stories, there's so much depth to a villain, like in a book or a movie, that's not usually explored. And I remember I wrote the song when I couldn't sleep one night. It was like 2 a.m. and I just couldn't sleep, so I just got my lyric book out and just started. I wrote the chorus, and I came up with the tune for the chorus. And yeah, I think that villains are, it's always the heroes that are talked about and stuff. And I think it would be cool to sort of explore what you would get if you put two villains in sort of a toxic relationship. And there's no like sort of really cool backstory. It's just really the fact that I'm a nerd who just likes
but I think that's cool, and I agree with you, because usually, you know, in any kind of story that has a clear hero and a clear villain, you know, if you're going to only have one dimension, I think a lot of times the evil side is going to be inherently more interesting, right? Because you figure if you've got a hero, the hero is sort of, can be one dimensional, right? It's like, all right, you know, we're here to save everyone, and I'm good, and I'm justice, and I'm, you know, right, and whatever.
Yeah.
And the villain always has, and especially the ones that you mention, you know, Bonnie and Clyde and the Joker and Harley, like, they have all this trauma, they have all this backstory, they have all of this, you know, meat on the bones there. And I think you're right that, you know, I think there's also a big market for that, because people loved the Joker, you know, loved the when Harley came out, and you know, the people like lost their minds that this was going to be a focal. So, I mean, I think it was very smart. And I think that to make it about, and obviously you're not writing about these characters literally, but like, you know, the idea of, like you said, this toxic relationship, because you don't hear too much about that either lyrically. Usually it's, you know, romances that are working, you know, people who want to be with someone, but they're not, you know, because they have never gotten with them, or they've broken up, or, you know, they're whatever. But like, just sort of this weird freak show, two messed up people, if you even want to call them that, or just, you know, darker side. And what that looks like, you know. And one of the things that I thought was really cool about your choices with this song was that it could have been a much harder song, faster, louder, you know, more like in your face kind of song. And you didn't take it there. You went the other way with it. You kept it very restrained, very pulled back, as I said, very sexy, very slinky, you know, on the slower side. And it had that cool, creepy, tense, you know, like dark, shadowy, you don't really know what to expect here kind of vibe. And I thought that was so smart, because it really made you pay attention to both what you had written and what you were singing. So did you start out of that, because you said you basically wrote the chorus, but did you have just the words, or did you have the melody line in your head too? Did you, when did you sort of, what was the process of writing this? Because I want to get into it for each of your songs, but like you couldn't sleep, you woke up, and what the chorus just came to you. So do you write lyrics first generally?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the process of any song, because obviously I don't play an instrument. What I do is I will either have a tune that I just make up in my head, and then I'll sort of fit the lyrics to it, to that tune. Or specifically with Freak Show, I sort of came up with the first two lines, you know, the Bonnie and Clyde, Joke and Harley. And I sort of got this idea of like, I was thinking of like circus and like sort of like very slow, bouncy, sort of like creepy. So and then sort of line by line, I was coming up with it, with that next part of the tune. And then I had recordings of myself sort of singing it over and over. You know, they sort of varied a bit, but I think it was mostly the sort of the tune that is on the actual song now.
Okay. So you pretty much, with a few alterations here and there, you pretty much had as it. So I mean, okay. So again, because as somebody who also sings, at least ostensibly, and writes songs sometimes, that's always the hardest thing for me. Is I will get lyrics and I might get a snippet of a melody in my head or some rhythms or something, but getting it to be a song and not just a poem, is that's sort of a tricky spot for me, because I can't sit down with a guitar or a piano and write it out. So, but you will have a melody come to you. What do you attribute that to, since you don't play an instrument? Is it just all the singing? Is it kind of, how hard do you have to work to get to that melody? It just shows up in your head? Because I'm going to hit you if that's true. It's too easy. It's too easy. It has to be harder than that.
Yeah, no, I think it really depends on, I think if I'm sitting down to write a song, I find it a lot harder. So, like if and especially with the sort of the vibe of the song. So like with Freak Show, when I came up with those first two lyrics and I thought of that sort of the circusy freak sort of vibe, I thought, okay, that's where I'm going to try and go with it. Whereas Easier Said Than Done, I was stuck on for ages, because that had so many changes. Originally, that was supposed to be a ballad song, so that had loads of changes. But yeah, with tunes, they literally sometimes can just come to me. Like, I think the other day I was sat at work and I was on the front of house desk, so literally people coming through the door and I'm sat on this desk. And I sort of had this really cool idea for a song come into my head.
Oh, no. And you're like, can you hold on a minute?
So literally people walking in and I was waving like hello to like some regular customers, and I was actually humming this song into my phone. So I didn't forget what the tune was.
Well, because I mean, that it's so funny. I hear that a lot on this show, that people will be like, oh, the inspiration always strikes at the most inopportune time, like you're driving or you're cooking and you don't have your phone or anything to record it on. So I love that you were like, I'll be with you in a moment. No, because you can't lose that song. And I mean, it's so then once you have it in your head, what do you do in terms of instrumentation? Like, is that all programming? Are you working with actual musicians who are just sort of, recording for you? So, once you've got your lyrics, you've got your melody, you know what you're doing. How do you build the song from there, as someone who doesn't play, it yourself?
Yeah, so I go to a studio that's not too far from my house, and there's this really incredible guy called Talon, and he has done the production for all three of my songs so far.
Okay.
What I do is, obviously, I go there, I show him the recordings of me singing, I sort of give him the vibe, what sort of, feelings I want behind the song, what it's about, and all this. And literally he, like that, like especially with Snakes and Ladders, and he literally came up with the exact image like idea I had.
Yeah.
Song. It was funny with Freak Show, because I think, as I don't play any instruments, sometimes when I am singing, I can sort of go off a bit, like on a tangent with different notes, and to a person who plays instruments, they might think, what the hell is she doing with those?
You can't legally do that. That's not in the key that we're those chords don't work. Yeah. Well, but I mean, so then is that's sort of where Talon will come in and say, okay, Shannon, like you need to change this part, or does he change the structure to accommodate that? Because you can technically.
Yeah. So he'll with Freak Show, he was like, we can bring it up like one semitone to what it is now, and he played it. I was like, I don't even notice the difference, to be fair.
That's a pretty subtle change. That's not going to be drastic. Yeah.
And with that song, he said it's quite complicated in terms of production, because I think I had come up with a tune that was slightly differentiated to the chorus. So he was like, but it suits the chaos of the song, it kind of works in a really good way. So I think with that song, it was quite not easy, but because of how weird it was, it fit the vibe of the song, so it worked.
Yeah, you had leeway there. It didn't have to be standard structure, Yeah, no, I mean, it really that's very cool that you have found someone who gets what you're doing so clearly, that so he will say, okay, this is what I would do here on guitar, this is what I would do for drums, this is what I would. So is he literally suggesting you sit down with him and kind of pick through? How does that building happen?
Yeah, so he won't sort of do anything without sort of he won't do anything different without sort of suggesting it first. So
Okay.
with Snakes and Ladders, for example, he was like, oh, we should add this little bit here just to make it a bit different. And I was like, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
And we'd sort of he'll talk through what he's going to add and what he thinks my idea with what I think of doing that will add to the song. And it's sort of it's really cool because I get to learn more about but before any of these songs I'd never really done anything in a studio before, so it's fun for me because I get to sort of see how it all works.
Yeah, no, it's the studio piece of it. I think it's critical for anyone who wants to make music to sit in there, and whether they're however involved they are or not. I mean, I remember the first time, back in the dark ages when I would go in to record for friends or with old bands or whatever, and used to be you'd sit at this huge desk, and there were tons of knobs and buttons and switches or whatever, and just figuring out, tracking your vocals, tracking your harmony lines,
it's confusing. It does.
It is. And but what I loved about it was that once you see what you have to do to build a complete song, then going forward, you go, okay, so I need to be thinking about this set of tracks. I need to be thinking about, do I sing this to a click? Do I and it does teach you, really, rather than just showing up and going, okay, here are my lyrics and this is what it sounds like. And, but but do you come up with, there isn't a ton of guitar, in your songs generally, but are you saying this is the guitar line that I want to do, these are the chords I want to do, or are you guys kind of working that out together? And what about the drums, the bass, all of that?
Yeah, so he does come up with a lot of the guitar riffs, especially because obviously that's that's a department I don't know.
Right.
I'd love to learn how to come up with stuff like that, but he sort of comes up with it. Or if I hear it and I'm like, oh, I don't know about that one, then it'll be like, okay, let's try something else, sort of thing. So it is even though I don't sort of do it myself, it is sort of a partnership.
It sounds like you're not literally playing it yourself, but you know what you want for your song and what you don't. So you're choosing it and you're designing it and writing it along with him. I think that's great. And what I also love is that your songs they're very vocally centered, right? Which makes complete sense because you are a singer, that's what you do. And so a lot of the things or the structures that you would expect in a song, you don't necessarily do. You don't necessarily have some big bridge where there's a screaming guitar solo or a piano solo or anything like that. It's very much always focused on your vocals. But because first of all, your vocals are just so fucking good. And also the fact that the production is tremendous. It really, if this is just the dude down the road or whatever, you lucked out because he manages to, with you and your input and everything that you're doing, make everything sound so full and complex and layered. And if you really pick it apart, it's mainly your singing. That's the thing. That's the whole hook of the song. It's just playing with panning your vocals, playing with octaves, playing with harmonies, playing with, again, even in Freak Show, little bit of guitar, for 5-6 seconds in the background towards the second half, but not a focal point, and I love that with your songs, that I'm not waiting for the big bridge. I'm not waiting for the huge instrumental section. I'm waiting to see how you're going to change up your vocals and what you're going to do with them from verse to chorus. And then you add in, I mean, we might as well get to it. You know, easier said than done is so, it's just so great. And I remember when you were starting to work on that project where you were asking people for clips, you know, singing parts of the song or just
going on, by the way. That's
oh no, that's why I said starting. I didn't assume that had been got. You're very busy and I know that. So but you know, and I sat there and I was like, first of all, I was like, well, I don't want to sing this because I'm like, it sounds better when Shannon does it. So I don't want to sing it. I was like, but I will absolutely rock out and lip sync to that. So we had that song on in the house for like a week, you know, and it's like, and Greg will say this too. I'll be driving or I'll be, you know, prepping for something or I'll be trying to fall asleep or I'll be cooking and your song will be in my head. It's so catchy. Like, and I mean, that was months ago that we were talking about doing that, right? And it's still in there. And I love that even though there are just the 3 main ones up now, I mean, obviously YouTube has, you know, like there's like, you know, and you have all your covers on Facebook and everything else, but like each of the songs is so different from each other. You know, each of them shows a different side of you and your voice and your songwriting and everything. But I mean, when I first heard Easier Said Than Done, and we say this sometimes, certainly not all the time, but you know, Greg and I were like, why is this not on the radio already? Like, why is this not like what? Because there's no reason other than you haven't had that luck yet that it's not. It's completely something that I could see people, you know, just listening to either on the radio or streaming or wherever. But I mean, you have, with each song I've seen, I won't say growth because it implies that that's better than the one before it. Yeah. But I've seen evolution. I think maybe that's a better way to say it because it starts from the same place, and more than that, I think just kind of a differentiation. You know, it's like, you know, Snakes and Ladders, you know, very kind of ethereal rock feel, especially when you always start your songs in this insanely catchy way. You know, there's always something very hooky right at the beginning. You know, Easier Said Than Done, you've got that dreamy, super reverby, you know, just your vocals mainly. And then of course you kick us right in the face once everything drops and everything comes in. But you do it with Snakes and Ladders, you know, there's that breathy, open, you know, again, very sexy kind of vocal. And then, you know, gets a hell of a lot heavier with the drums and the guitar as you go, especially in the pre-chorus. And then same thing with Freak Show. It doesn't open up in the same way. But you started off where like the as soon as you come in singing, I was like, ooh, okay, because your voice sounds just luscious on that. It's gorgeous. It's just all the tone and everything, and just, you know, I don't think that the talent has to do very much to make that happen in the studio. I think that's just natural talent. But like, so is that a conscious choice with you that you want to start your songs usually different from what the rest of the song is going to be, or B, just something that's a little bit more, it usually does have that kind of ethereal or dreamy element, not so much with Freak Show, but definitely Snakes and Ladders and Easier Said Than Done. So like, are you planning that? Is that like a signature Shannon thing that we should expect, or what's the deal there?
I think no, I just like surprising people really. It's more like, I think it fits, especially with the first 2, it sort of fits. I don't know how to word it. So like, Easier Said Than Done, obviously, like I like the illusion that it's going to be sort of a nice, like quiet, calm, dreamy song. But for me, it's quite an angry song. So I like the illusion of it. So it kicks in and it's like, in your face, tricked you sort of thing. Snakes and Ladders again is kind of the same thing really, because once again, like it's, you know, it's still angry, it's bitter and all that. So I think with those 2, definitely. With Freak Show, I just wanted something different, something creepy, and I think the slow, not dreamy, but it is sort of like it's haunting almost.
Yes, it's a great word.
Yeah, I like it fits that I don't know, idea of the song.
Yeah, no, and what was funny about it was that having come from listen to Snakes and Ladders and Easier Said Than Done so many times, I was expecting you to fuck with us with Freak Show. So I was like, okay, so she's starting off, she's lulling us into a false sense of security, and then, it's gonna come in and when it didn't, it was like M. Night Shyamalan. That was the surprise. The surprise to me was that you didn't do that. And I loved that because even if you had, even between the first two songs, it didn't feel gimmicky and it didn't feel like a repeat because they're different enough from each other. And in the way that you surprise us from the beginning into like the meat of the song is also different. But it was a brave choice to just stick with that vibe, because you can't get creepy, haunting circus feel bigger than that. You can't. It's a different thing. It would have changed the song too much.
Exactly. Like I didn't want to overdo it and have so much going on that it took away the creep factor.
Right.
Because I quite like, I look at it as when the second vocal kicks in where it sounds like two different, like you got the high and the low bit.
Yes.
I imagine that it's the two characters singing together. That's how I envisioned it when I sang it. So when I was in the studio, I didn't change the way I sang, but I sort of tried to put myself into the two different perspectives.
Yes. No, you did that. I heard that. And especially because the low part is not super low. So your octave over that is actually quite high, and because you have the power and the strength that you do with your voice, you could still make that sound strong, which you needed to for the lyrics, because you can't have these creepy, twisted, toxic, villainous people and be like it's not gonna work. So it's one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we highlighted in this episode is that you are making, and I understand that Talon has a lot of input, but you know what you want for your songs, and your choices are so smart because it's not only the fact that they result in just really good music, which is obviously key, but it's meta, as I like to say, in the sense that you're building and matching and singing and choosing octaves and choosing harmonies and choosing accents and, little riffs and things that you throw in there very judiciously. You write and you help produce like someone who's been doing it for much, much longer.
Thank you.
And what that does for someone like me who's listening to it is it makes the songs, it gives them staying power because they're catchy, but they're interesting. There are songs, because we've all had those earworms, right, guys, where like you get a song in your head and it is the stupidest, most base. I mean, like I'm thinking, I'm blue, dabba-dee-dabba. Like what the fuck are they even talking? But and now I'm sorry, everybody, but once you hear that, it's in your head for like a week. You can't get it out.
Everyone in the comments like cursing you right now.
Damn it, Christina, why did you just? I know, like, don't worry. We'll maybe we should probably play one of your songs again just to clear the ear. But I mean, but it's easy to be catchy, but to have it be catchy and have it be interesting and complex. And some of that is definitely down to production because you have all these little Easter eggs in all of the songs. There are all these little, either they're synth bits or they're guitar parts or they're just sound effects or they're little, way faded back vocal things that you'll do or just, dropping in a different kind of harmony here and there or whatever. And I love that when I listen, I hear something new pretty much every time, but at the same time, the tracks don't feel crowded. They're not cluttered. They don't seem like they're overly layered. Like I don't get the sense that you guys are putting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tracks on there. So it's a beautiful mix of just raw talent and smart songwriting and a good ear for both music and production. And the production piece is, I think, where so many musicians shoot themselves in the foot. Because you can have a great song, but if you don't get it mixed, mastered, put together the right way, you will murder it, And so, I mean, that's impressive to me. So, I mean, when Snakes and Ladders, you know, this is all just within the last, you know, couple years that you've really been, you know, and I mean, when did you meet Talon in the first place?
So I literally, my mum basically for my 18th birthday, because I've been wanting to go in a studio for ages, but it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for my birthday, she sort of found at this studio that
Mom,
really good, and yeah, she was like, oh, we'll go along, see what it's like. Really.
Okay. Yeah. So that's what I thought. It's all happened like in the last year and change, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, like that's a tremendous education. I'm so happy for you that the person that was there in the studio when you went was such a great match for you, because you could have had a completely different experience and they're like, oh, they're not helpful there. Because I've worked with producers who were like that, where it's just they will turn your stuff into magic with you. Yeah. And then I've worked with producers where they could not possibly care less, and they will do the bare minimum, and they don't get your vibe, and they don't care if they don't get your vibe. And it's just, you know, cut, print, done. Where's my money? So I'm glad that you know what a gift you have with this person. But so, okay. So I wanted to get into with you, lyrics a little bit more. And I don't know how much you're going to want to get into them specifically, but like you mentioned it, you know, that Snakes and Ladders and Easier Said Than Done are definitely angry, intense, very emotional lyrics. And I mean, I remember listening to Easier Said Than Done and going, oh, okay, I have my sense of what it's about. And I don't think you're hiding it too much. I mean, it's right there in the lyrics, you know. Yeah. You know, I'm not, you know, it's like, so let me let you tell as much of that, you know, the stories behind those songs as you want to, and then we can kind of go through, you know, how it landed with me, because I have relationships in my life with family members where, to me, that's what the song is about, but I'm not exactly sure that it is for you. But so why don't you talk to me a little bit about writing, you know, Snakes and Ladders and Easier Said Than Done?
So Snakes and Ladders is, while it is personal to me, it's a lot more broader than Easier Said Than Done. So Snakes and Ladders, you can take it as friendships, as relationships, as family, and toxic people, or just anyone you meet on the street and you think, oh, they're out to get you, you know, they're only interested in themselves. So that's where that really came from in the basic terms. Whereas Easier Said Than Done is a lot more, very personal to me. And it stems from lots of little things that have built from a particular person who, you know, is supposed to be there as a, you know, a figure in anyone's life, really, and who's not, and who lets you down time and time again. And then when you do talk about it, they're like, oh, you know, I'm sorry, easier said than done, sort of thing. Like, and I did have a chat with this, you know, family member who heard the song and wanted to know what it was about.
Awkward. Well, did you just hand them a mirror, or like what was the? Because so you did now, just to pause you for a second there, the song had already come out. That was after it was done, so it wasn't like you went ahead and said, hey, I'm going to be writing this song about you. Because good for you, first of all. Like, somebody who earned those lyrics did not earn the right to get to approve or deny you from putting them out into the world. So I'm glad that you didn't. But okay, so song was out. And I mean, you know, your stuff is blowing up on Spotify. So, I mean, a lot of people are hearing it. So this person heard it and actually had the balls to ask you, was it like oh, that's cool, what's like oblivious? Or was it like, hey, wait a minute.
So what was funny is that this person didn't really, when Snakes and Ladders came out, I would have expected that person to be like, wow, that's really cool. But there was not really that much interest shown. But what was funny is when Easier Said Than Done came out, there was lots of questions. Oh, who is it about? So I think that there was sort of some realization there, but I don't think it was sort of taken in the way that it should have been taken, like, oh, that was something I've done, I should apologize. It was more like, is that about me? Should I, like, do you know what I mean? I don't know how to.
No, I got you. Well, so I mean, it's interesting because I'll and you, and I'm proud of you for protecting your boundaries and how you're discussing it. And I, you know me, I'm not digging for anything. My main thing is everybody just being comfortable and all of that. But for me, you know, there are two father figures in my life that I have had similar experiences with, where, you know, those lyrics really resonate with me, you know. And I mean, I love that you dropped the little nugget that was supposed to be a ballad, because I get it. It completely could have been. It could have been like a Corey Allen empty kind of, you know, heart-wrenching, very spare kind of, you know, pleading lyric. And but you're right though, because that song could have been done sad, but you do it angry. And I love that you do it angry, because that's the emotion that people who earn those lyrics is entitled to.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, I remember we did the whole sort of it was like a piano version. It was quite slow, and it had these little, like, sort of little light piano-y bits in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I remember listening to it in the studio, and I was going, oh, I quite like it, you know. And we came out in the studio, and I was in the car driving back, and it had just been finished, and I put it on the car radio, like,
that's the real test. Yeah.
And I was listening to it, and my mum looked over, and she was like, "You're right." And she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't think I like it." And
yeah, good for you.
She was like, "What?" And I was like, I don't. It's not. See, because with Snakes and Ladders, I heard it, and I was instantly, I was like, "Yeah, that is it.
Yeah.
That song, I love it." But with this one, don't get me wrong, I like it. Like, I like the piano version, but it wasn't what I envisioned releasing the song as. Mm-hmm. So, like, maybe sometime down the line, I'll release the other piano one as sort of like a version.
Yeah, but, why not? Yeah.
But for the first time, for people hearing it, for that person, because I wanted that person to hear it and I wanted them to acknowledge it. But for the first time, having that song be played, I just didn't resonate with the piano. So I see messaged Talon, and we sorted it out, and I love what it is now, because it is much more angrier, and I feel like there's a lot more depth to it, and even though it's angrier, you can still sort of like rock to it. It's kind of like it's a win-win.
and more than that, I will say that I knew it was personal, mainly because, and not because I know anything about Shannon, I don't know any more than what you guys are hearing right now, but because had I your talent, I could have written that, and having lived it, you know, and, you know, from just before it even kicks in, you know, you told me you'd do anything for me, and you said to me I wouldn't have to worry. I know that when you say these things, I shouldn't get my hopes up, you know, and even there, it's poignant. But then you go right ahead and say, I do it every fucking time. And I'm like, that fucking, you know, like, that's not gratuitous. That's in there for a reason. And that's the first sign to me, lyrically, that we're going to be hearing from somebody who's fucking had it with this, and they're done, you know, and they're done.
Originally there was no fucking at all, and I thought, do you know what, I'm putting it in because I was angry, and it didn't feel angry unless I.
That's right. No, and what I loved about that choice is that you do it when we're still in the very pretty section of the song. You know, it's just all this very reverby, you know, kind of not mellow, but like, just, it could have gone either way. If a piano had come in at that point instead of the and your giggle, I would have been like, yeah, okay, this is totally the song. You know, if you had released that piano version, totally could have seen it working. But you dropped that F-bomb there, and I was like, and as I was processing, like, oh, okay, then all of a sudden, boom, boom, you know, and we're in it, right? And you took us there, and I love that because you have that layer of anger, but it's not just angry, which would have made it more one-dimensional. It's just it's because what you're describing in the lyrics, is like an empathy of sorts for the mindset of this person, right? I know you care, but it's just not enough, and it's like you're not vilifying them. You're
No.
not saying you're the worst person ever, which is something that I think a littler kid or a less evolved adult might do, because it's very easy to just paint somebody as one thing.
Yeah.
But it's more accurate, and it's also more painful to see that they are a person and that they are failing and that they're failing you. And that to me is where the gut punch of the lyrics comes in, that there's this, I know you think you mean it in the moment. I know your intentions are good when you say this stuff to me. I know you do care about me, but and that's like that's where, and especially, and again, I will not mention, what relationship I think it, because it really doesn't matter. Like, it's if when you have someone who's meant to be focal and they fail you, whether that's, a parent or a spouse or a sibling or a whatever, it doesn't matter, because it feels similar, and so as someone who can relate to these lyrics very intensely, I can tell anybody who can't, and good for you guys if you can't, but it's honest, it's real. Like, Shannon has written it as it is. This is not something that you're speaking to that you don't know anything about. You clearly lived this. But I love that it can be angry, and it can be poignant, and it can be kick-ass, and somebody could turn that song on, not pay a damn bit of attention to what you're saying, and just have a really good time for 4 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, that you are saying something makes it so much better for me. So, so when you had this conversation, were you really honest and you were like, yeah, it's
difficult because that whole side of, I didn't want to create a big thing out of it.
Sure.
I was sort of, I will say, by the way, that you are probably thinking,
you don't have to say anything, sweetheart. You and again, you protect yourself. That's that's rule one. But I think you and I know what we're talking about. So I got you. But no, that's yours to keep and hang on to. Please do not say anything you don't want to say.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I did I said that it is what you can hear about. That's what it's about. And I said anyone can take it how they want to take it, and I said, but that's how I'm taking it. I said, I asked them, I said, well, how are you taking it? Like, what do you think it's about?
Yeah.
And didn't really know what to say to that. So yeah, I didn't sort of outwardly say, oh, it's actually about you.
Okay.
Because that would probably cause World War III.
Well, but you know what though? Good for you too, because one of the things that I'm still learning, and I'm a lot older than you are, is that some of what you did with this song, what you did in that conversation, it wasn't for them. It was for you, right? Because if you had the power to change them, you wouldn't have a song to write. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been your place in the, and I'm trying to construct my sentence very carefully to keep it general, but your place in their life once you came into it would have woken them up enough to say, this is what I'm meant to be doing for this person. And it didn't. And I have had that experience of, like, from two different levels. And again, I'm going to be vague, but like, once you realize that the person just doesn't have the chip, they don't have it in them, because, when you're younger, especially, and you have any kind of relationship that fails you, I think the typical thing is to blame yourself. right?
Yeah.
Like if I were more this or less this, if I did this or didn't do this, then maybe this person would feel differently about me. And that's something that can carry from, if you're a little kid thinking it about a parent or a grandparent or some other family member, all the way into, romantic relationships later in life or friendships or whatever.
Yeah.
That idea of taking ownership of someone else's faults is really common, right? But when you get older or you've had enough processing of it or whatever, and you're preternaturally wise for someone, your age to be at this point where you're even remotely near this, you realize that what you do around that relationship has to do with what you need from it and how you process it and how you grieve it and how you move on from it. So I kind of love that you did a really classy thing. Well, what did you think it meant? Because that's the litmus test, right? Like if they were like, well, I was listening to it and I heard the lyrics and I saw myself in it and oh my God, and there had been some sort of
revelation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think you were expecting that anyway, because you had all this time with this person of seeing that that's literally exact opposite of what they did every fucking time, and I love that that shows a lot of maturity and growth to me, that you didn't feel the need to be like, and what, motherfucker, like you were just like, okay, because look, when you deal with narcissists, and to whatever degree that label applies here,
yeah,
they're not going to get it. Like they're just not, it would destroy their entire sense of self to hear the message, right? I think it's interesting that they knew enough to know to ask you whether it was about them, though. Somewhere in there's a little pinball rattle, but like, so, do you feel like this song got you anywhere with all of this? I know it's not going to be a panacea, but like because songwriting is so cathartic when you write about stuff that's so intensely personal like that. So, did you finish it angrier? Did you finish it more settled? Is it still sort of?
Do you know what? I definitely felt better for actually saying something, because I'm quite a quiet person. I'm getting better at like sort of, getting out my shell, but generally I am quite a quiet and sort of person. But it felt so good to actually just get angry about something that I had kept, bottled up for so long. I was angry when I finished it, for sure. And I was definitely angry when I got off the phone to this person after they'd asked if it was about them, because I wanted to say, well, of course it is. Like,
what the fuck do you think I'm talking about? Like, but
overall, it has felt like sort of almost like a weight has been lifted, being able to talk about it with not fully like out in this. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just nice to be able to say something about it.
Well, I will say two things, and it might be presumptuous, but because I love you, I'm going to say it anyway. First of all, it was never you. Okay.
Thank you.
Secondly, good for you, because, and I say it a lot, but when you have trauma of any kind, the only way out of it is through it. And you have to deal with that shit, and to be doing it now where it won't warp who you are from here on out, like we only have so much control over our environment and our lives when we're younger, right? And the older we get, the more we get. And when we don't deal with trauma, my feeling about it is we take over being the ones that traumatize ourselves. We let it continue. If we push it down, we don't deal with it. If we stay quiet and polite about it, because you're obviously a good person and a sweet person and don't want to blow things up and ruffle too many feathers. But there's a point at which that just starts to, you're pointing the gun back at yourself. It damages you too much. And I love that you have arrested this person's control over you now.
Yeah.
Because you are still very young, and Shannon, you have so much talent. You have so much talent, and you have so much to say. And this person doesn't deserve to have any part of that, except for maybe fodder for music that makes you lots of money and gets you lots of fame, right? Like, so like that. So and I mean, again, I hope it's okay that I say that, but I just, when I heard that song, it hit me so hard because I can relate to it as both a child and a parent.
Yeah.
And I it's so honest and it's so accurate and it's so real. And I was so happy to see you at the point of being angry about it, because angry, as raw as it is healing, you know? So, and I also love that you then had the room to move to something like Freak Show, where it wasn't about any of that, you know? And I mean, like Snakes and Ladders, I had to check to make sure, but here we call it, in the US, we call it Shoots and Ladders, the board game. Yeah. So I was like, I'm sure that's what it means. And I you know, I thought I had heard that a long time ago anyway, but it's such a great metaphor for what you're describing about relationships. Because for anybody who didn't, I think you were like legally required to play the game as a kid, no matter where you grew up. But you know, this idea that you're working your way up this path, you're working your way up to this goal, and then you make one wrong move and you've slid all the way back down to the bottom. And it's such a great metaphor, and it's such a great imagery for that kind of, you know, 2 steps forward, 50 steps back kind of relationship that you're describing. And as you said, it could be any kind of relationship. Anybody who's had that in any dynamic could go, oh my God, Shannon, girl, you know, like I know exactly what you're talking about. But it's, and it's great because you can do that with easier said than done too. You can, you know, it is more personal. It is more direct. I don't understand at all, besides just the kind of person that, as I said, this song would be about how you couldn't get it. Like if you were remotely near a situation, like how you couldn't figure it out, because it's plain as day to anybody who's paying attention. But it is generalizable. And so, but then Freak Show is a totally different thing. I mean, technically you're still talking about a toxic kind of relationship, but it's a whole different, it's like a very different, it's a very, very, yeah. So, I mean, so you, I mean, you've been writing for, you know, 7 years, right? And so, but you've been, I think, very picky about what you've chosen to put out so far, because I have the feeling you could probably have 2 albums out by now if you wanted to. So what is that about? Is that just, it's your standards? Is it just time, money, studio? You know, like you can't just be in the studio all the time to do it, or like what's your, because I know how expensive studio time is. So if that's the answer, I would totally understand it. But I think, why do we only have 3 songs when I know you probably have like 100 or more?
No, I think it's probably a bit of both, like obviously time and money and stuff like that. But I think I am sort of a perfectionist, which I think is good and bad at the same time. I can be very picky. But yeah, I don't know. I think the thing was getting into a studio was like a whole different thing for me. I don't think when I first got to do Snakes and Ladders, or at least the build up to going, it was kind of like this whole thing. Like it didn't really appeal to me that I could just go into a studio and just do it.
It didn't.
Like it, like not didn't appeal, but like it didn't, like I couldn't imagine like being able to just think like, oh, I can go into the studio tomorrow. Like
I got you. I got you. It wasn't like an assumption that you made that like, oh, I'm just going to be okay. I got you. Okay.
Like I didn't imagine just being able to do that. And I think it was because I'd never done anything like it before.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, I wrote a big chunk of the songs I have now, because I've got like a whole book. Like it's really,
I knew it. I knew it. I knew this was tip of the iceberg. I knew it.
And to be fair, I am planning the next thing I have. It was not going to be a single.
This makes me very happy. Okay. I might ask you a little bit more about that later, but okay. You will only tell me as much as you want to, but okay. So it's a little bit of that, but also, you know, now perfectionist about, I think this song is worth going in and sitting down and working with, or like, have you started working up other songs and they're not where you want them to be yet? Or how much, I mean, I guess you have your melody, you have your idea, you know, concept, vibe, whatever, and you have your lyrics when you go in. So, I mean, you've got to have a ton of those. So
Yeah.
how did you pick the ones that you did? Like what?
It's more like I've got loads, like I've got so many songs, and obviously when I've written these songs, a lot of them are at varying points in my life. So I look back on like a song. There's a song I want to work on soon that I love the idea behind, but the lyrics, when I wrote them during lockdown, and that was a few years ago now. And I just feel like they could probably, they could be better, in my opinion. So yeah, little bits like that. Like
Gotcha.
I wouldn't put out something unless I'm like 110% sure that I want to put it out there.
Oh, everyone watching. This is it, right? This is the thing. It's the musician's curse, right? It's the blessing and the curse of, I think I could just make it a little bit better. I think I could just you know what, Shannon, I'm going to go ahead and say in that way, at least it's a good thing that studio time is so expensive, because it's going to force you to put things out at some point. Because if you were sitting in your room mixing and mastering everything by yourself, I have the feeling we would never hear anything, because you'd be like, well, put this one note in this one part of it. And look, I mean, it's that when I ask the questions at the end that are coming, I will hear a lot that one of the least favorite things about doing this is, and Ambrose from your shirt from Anger Overdose said, getting what's in my head out and having it sound the same, and I think that it's so difficult to do that, so I what you said is something that I think pretty much everybody watching related to. But yeah, at some point you got to step away from the console and just put the fucking song up, because otherwise. But so I mean, since you mentioned it, my KG dear, because I can see that you're only going to say so much about it. But so the next project will not be a single, which for those of us who are remotely familiar with math would indicate then that there would be more than one song being released at a time. But how much, if anything, beyond that would you like to say about said situation?
Do you know what? I'm not going to keep secrets. I don't care. I'll just say it.
No, you have to act like I'm pulling it out of you, because then I could be like, I got this scoop. No, it's fine. So, okay, yeah, if it's not something that you need to keep close, I would be thrilled to know, but again, only say what you want, obviously.
Yeah, like it's not really been a sort of thing that I'm like, I'm gonna keep a secret for as long as possible. But yeah, I am hoping to start working on an EP. To be fair, I've already started working on the first song of this EP.
Okay.
So yeah, but that's enough. I'm not gonna say what the theme is or what this song is.
No, I wasn't expecting. And honestly, I don't even think I want to know, because you do have a surprise element to what you do. And I think that, and it's funny because you somehow manage to market things well without inundating anyone with them, And so like, I stepped away from Facebook for like 2 weeks when we had stuff going on here, and I come back and it was like, there was Freak Show, and it was like you had been mentioning it, but you're not, you're not adding all your followers every day talking about thank you for that, by the way. But like, I mean, you have built quite a following on Facebook at this point. And, I've watched it over the last 6 months or so, just as it should just start skyrocketing. And again, Spotify, thousands of streams for these songs, and
it's insane to me, by the way, absolutely insane, because I like the start of this like the start of this year, I had a small sort of following on everything. I'd never put anything on Spotify before. I didn't even know how Spotify worked.
Yeah.
And so it's literally crazy for me.
No, really. But you know what though? I mean, I think first of all, again, your talent is undeniable. So I think there's an element of just people just need to hear it. And that's kind of all that needs to happen. We don't have to convince anybody that you're good. We don't have to convince anybody to like your stuff. It is a no-brainer. And again, it's one of the things that is so smart. And you don't do it anywhere near as much as you used to. I think you've just gotten busy and you're shifting your focus. But you used to put out covers a lot. Like you sometimes it was more than one a day, or you would have a whole live, or no, but that's great though. That's what you have to do. And I mean, every time I would go through the comments on stuff that you would post, it would be the same thing. Oh my God, your voice is amazing. Shannon, you sound so great. You should be on this show or that show. You should be whatever. And it's like, and yeah, they're right. They're all right. Like there's nothing anybody could say to disagree with that. And nobody does. And you should take that in, because they mean it. We mean it. Like you have it. So it's for you, I think it's mainly just going to be a matter of right place, right time, right people, because I mean, you're beautiful, you're talented, you're young, you have like that going for you, where like, from the media standpoint of things, you're not some, 83-year-old person with no hair and no teeth or whatever, climbing up to the microphone. You know what I mean? Like you've got the in there. But you also, you sing beautifully, but you can also kick ass, which is great too. Because some voices can only do one thing. Some people can only really sing ballads and have it be in their wheelhouse. Some people have to rock out hard. And I remember talking to, I think it was Asphalt Jungle. Yes, I'm certain now. And he said to me, I'm listening to Shannon's track. I think this was when, and we'll get into it a little bit, when you were working on Yelling for Yanni. And he goes, for all the world, that kid sounds like Pat Benatar to me. And I was like, I fucking know. I know. But it's like, but then you put Freak Show out. That's not Pat Benatar. I don't know what that is. That's Shannon Darcy. It's a whole other thing. And I love that you have that versatility. Because you can do an easier said than done, and you can just blow the doors off the place, but you can do a freak show and just slink around. Because in a song like that, where there isn't as much going on, like with Freak Show, the voice is on display. You gotta have it. And because I don't care how produced it is. I mean, I've heard your recordings where you're singing live for competitions and stuff like that. You sound just like you do in the studio. Like that's not magic. You're not being mixed to whatever, fine. Everything gets cleaned up a little bit, but guys, Shannon's the real deal. So, I mean, for you, I think, and I'll shut up in a second, I promise. But I think for you, it's just about getting your song in as many ears as possible. And so I love that you have been prolific on social media. But I mean, that's a full-time job, right?
It is very hard, because my job in general is it's sort of very unsociable hours, because I work at a bingo and casino place.
Right.
So like tomorrow, for example, I'm doing a 7 a.m. start, and I probably won't get back till about 11:30.
Yeah.
So it's like
that's it. That's everything. Yeah.
Jobs at the same time.
Yeah. Well, 3 really, because you've got your music separate from the promotion of your music, right? So I mean, and that's the thing where that's why those lives and the covers that you put out were smart, because they kind of did both things at the same time. You have to keep the eyes on your page, right? I mean, like I was stunned that being away from Facebook for 2 weeks, it was like I had never been on there. Everything, Facebook is like screaming at me, oh my God, nobody's looking at your page, your numbers are tanking. And I was like, okay, like calm down. It's not the end.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to make it. I'm trying to help you guys make it, but I'm not trying. I have no illusions about that. I have whatever, but you really can. And I think you will. So you have this intense pressure that you've got to stay in front of eyes and ears all the time. And it's just very hard to do that. So how are you balancing that with everything else that you have to do? Because, you don't have a lot of time. And especially the last month or two, you have not, we missed you for a while. We were like, where is Shannon? She's going, I'm still here. I just got home from work and I'm going to sleep, and then I'm getting up and I'm going to work. So, I mean, how do you even do that anymore now that you're kind of blowing up more too?
It is very hard. I mean, I have pre-planned posts, obviously, that I'll post. Sometimes I'll plan a post, and I'll get my mum to post it for me if I can't post it at work. And then obviously at work, sort of during breaks, I will visit other pages, I'll talk to other people, and the bus journeys actually help as well, because I have to get a bus from my house to work, and it's about an hour. So that's sort of So that's sort of when I do sort of
Okay.
catch up with things, like in terms of chatting to people,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
when I'm actually at home. But yeah, it is very tough. I think I'm still sort of that time when I was away from Facebook and stuff for a bit. It was sort of like me trying to figure out how I am going to balance it, because it's hard. 'Cause I don't want people to think I'm just ignoring them, or because I've had instances where I've not been able to answer a message, and because I've gotten a few at the same time, haven't seen that certain message, and I've
that
unintentionally
happens to me too.
people, and it is really it is tough trying to do it all at the same time.
Wait, guys, back the fuck off. Leave my Shannon alone, okay? She's not being jerk. She's not you're not allowed to get mad at her. That's not okay with me. You have to deal with me on that one. But no, I mean, look, I understand that too, because when you are available, and you had a stretch there for a couple of months where you had a little bit more time and you were online more, and people get used to it. And then, it's the nature of the beast. I mean, I know for me, it's insanely hard as things have grown to keep up, and I'm one of these people where I literally, between just how I am as a person and like my kind of OCD tendencies, I literally have to respond to every single thing that I get, comment, post, message, tag, whatever. And I can't really do it in a way that allows me to have life beyond it, and it's like, and we do the show and we have our band and we have like kids and whatever. So I feel you, because people will have that expectation that you're just always available and you're always around. But like you still do a lot of trying to watch this show or join, I mean, even if you pop in for 5 minutes during somebody's thing or whatever, you're like, hi, I'm here, I'm exhausted, I have to go to sleep. And I'm like, why are you awake? Go to bed. Nobody who knows you and nobody who's key in the community is going to give you any crap about that, because we all understand it too, but I mean, so when you took that little hiatus to sort of figure out what your balance was going to be, did you feel like you came back with an answer for yourself, or are you still?
I feel like I am sort of finding it easier, because I can, like I said, I've got points where I am at work where even if it's just answer 1 or 2 messages, it's still
something
getting done, I sometimes I sit in bed and do it, so it's like I have got this sort of way that I can do it all and still enjoy it,
Okay, that's key. Yeah, because it's at the end of the day, this is supposed to still also be fun and enjoyable too. It can't be all that, obviously, but I mean, so we've talked about, and I mean, we should mention, because I was going to get into talking about collabs a little bit. While it's not what we played today, because obviously we want to showcase the newest single. You have worked with Best of the Best on your Snakes and Ladders video, Mama's Maiden, right? And so you do reach out to the community in other ways like that too. So, I mean, one of the things that if I didn't already love you, really solidified it for me was that you were a part of Yelling for Yanni, which I think everyone who watches this show, I know everybody who watches it regularly knows, but for those who don't, I will just quickly say that my band Voxandstix, we are friends with a family who has a little boy who has an ultra rare set of progressive, ultimately fatal childhood conditions. And when I got into the community, we were organizing a fundraiser, and Shannon was one of the people who jumped right in and was, publicizing it and sharing links and trying to help us raise money and everything. And so when Asphalt Jungle started putting together this Yelling for Yanni project, I guess that started in June, I want to say maybe. And he said to me, so guess who's going to do it with me? And I was like, who? And, he ran down the list and he's like, and guess who I got to sing? And I was like, I actually asked about you. I did, because I had a feeling he was going to ask you. And And he was like, yeah, and I just, first of all, thank you for doing that. All of you who participated in that, because I know it was time and effort and, stuff that you were not making any money for, you weren't getting anything for. And it meant so much to Greg and me and to Angela and Chris, and little man, that you guys were all a part of that. But so thank you for that, first of all. But I mean,
don't need to
talk to me about that a little bit, because that was a lot of big vocals you had to do on that one.
Yeah, do you know what? I love that song. Like, the message, of course, is so important. And doing that, I felt very privileged to have been asked to be a part of it. But singing it, for sure, I actually found it very challenging to sing. It was very out of my range, but I'd never sort of sang that rocky before. Like, obviously it's not really, really heavy, but for me it kind of is.
It's a different edginess to it. Yeah.
But I loved it. I loved it.
And it sat so well on you. It suited you. It really did. It really did.
But yeah, the guy who helped me record it, because we had to get it done quickly, so it would put out in time for Yanni's birthday. But I was in the studio and had singing the same high. It was this one bit that was really, really high, and we must have sung it I must have sung it in a loop about 10 times. And by the time I'd finished singing it, I was like, right, let's just wait. I need a break. I need a break for a second.
I think I know the part that you mean. And but not only to sing it high, but to sing it high in chest voice like you did, like that's a workout. It's a vocal workout. So yeah, I'm impressed you got through it like 10 times already. That's pretty good right there. So a lot of people would have knocked out after 3 or 4, but I mean, in terms of like collaborations and stuff like that, was that sort of the biggest one that you've done? Because it was just so many of you. I think there were 12 of you that were, that were really intensely involved. And so, I mean, because I don't know of any, well, I have a sense of one collab that's in the works that you and I both know a little something about, but, is that something that you're looking to do? Is that something you've done that I don't happen to know about already? I don't think you've done anything with anybody in the community, right?
So that was the first one that's actually, been put out and I've, publicly done.
Okay.
And I love the fact that was my first one as well.
Yeah.
But I am in the talks with so many different people at the moment.
I figured.
Even in like planning stages, not necessarily having recorded anything yet. There is quite a few people I do have plans to do stuff with.
Okay, I was hoping so. I mean, it didn't, because it's funny what happens, in Band Together, is that someone will say, oh, hey, like Mikhail will say, oh, I'm looking for a female vocalist on this or whatever. And then, there are certain names that you're just always going to put up, and so I'll say, Amy Gould from Eden on Fire. I'll say, Shannon Darcy, absolutely, whatever. And like more and more over the last couple months, I see your name come up in those things. And I was like, there's no way that she's not talking to any of these people, and that none of these things are actually going to come to fruition. So I know you probably can't or don't want to get into what, but like, do you have a sense that maybe we might see anything like that this year?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All things hopefully going the way, they're supposed to. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Look at her. She's you are very self-possessed, and I love that you know exactly what you want to say and what you don't. But okay, that's very good. I there are people I hope that you're working with, and then there are a few that I think I know you probably are working with. I'm not going to say anything, but and I'm very much looking forward to hearing what you do with each other on those things, because you do have a voice that people want on their stuff, I mean, that just that's a no-brainer, as I've said. So I expect to stay very busy, Shannon. I don't think you're going to get a break anytime soon. I really, really don't. And especially since, make sure we talked about it. you have a big awards situation coming up. Okay. We were very happy to vote for you, as we always are. But so you are going for Best Young Breakthrough Artist, right, at the NEA?
Yes.
And you could be actually a national award winner, right?
Yeah.
So this is November.
November.
I mean, yeah, 26, 20 something.
Yeah, 26.
Yeah,
26.
okay. So talk about that a little bit, because this is a big deal. And not your first go around either, obviously, but this is a big deal. So tell everybody what we're talking about here, because it's
So
cool.
back in, I think it was February. I want to say it was February when I did the first award. So it was a southeast of Essex, which is the region I'm from,
right,
in the UK, and it basically celebrates all vocal and any dance talent. Obviously the category I'm in is obviously vocal. Can see me in a dance category. But
that's
so
next year. Next year she'll be in the dance category. At this point, if you did, Shannon, it wouldn't surprise me. I think you could do pretty much whatever. But all right, so for this year, we're going with singing. So okay, good.
Yeah,
good
and I got voted. Someone nominated me to be in the breakthrough category. And it was funny, on the day of the awards, I was in a category of some really talented people. I remember saying to my mum, I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to prepare a speech because I don't think there's any point." And she was like, "I don't think that, I don't think that's really the right way to go about it in case you do win." And I was like,
"Yeah, you don't want to be like,
I'll be fine." I was like, "I'll be fine." And it's sort of like, it's quite scary because it's like a whole room of people, and it's all being recorded on cameras and stuff.
Oh, and it was a big deal. Yeah, because you put up the footage later, and I was like, holy shit, like that, like production and lighting, and it was a whole thing.
It's so cool. And they have like this little mini red carpet that if you do win, you have to walk across it, and like everyone stands up, and there's all this stuff. And I remember being sat at this table, and I was sat next to one of the other artists who I'm quite good friends with, Stefan. And we were both in the same category, and I was talking with him, and I was going, I wonder who it's going to be. And we were clapping the award names and stuff. And then they said my name, and I kind of went, oh, oh, okay. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And it was, I went up on the stage, and you have to give a speech. And
your mom's just like, I told you so. I told you.
I'm not great at public speaking. I'm getting there, but it was mostly just me repeatedly saying thank you.
Yeah. Hey, you know what though? But that's, if you can only come up with one thing, better that than suck it. Like, thank you is a good. No, I mean, we were so excited because I think you had just. I'm trying to remember what you first. So keep going, because I remember it was pretty early on when I met you that I think you had moved to the next phase at that point. Which that was
I won that, and if you win an award at the South one, the big one at the end of the year is sort of all the winners. Sort of, Right. You have to get voted to even pass. Like, so obviously, even though I won, I still have to get voted.
Yeah.
To go through. And thank you, by the way, so much for sharing the voting polls and stuff.
Nothing. I was more than happy to do it. Absolutely.
And basically, I'm up for the best breakthrough, and the potential winners. I think the Lee, who runs all of these events, he said that next year they're going to be having the big one at the O2. The O2 Arena in London. So
even I know that. Okay, well, holy shit, that's exciting and intimidating all at the same time.
So that's really cool.
No, I mean, I really because you had won, I think, but you didn't get the videos and everything until like a month or two later. And so I remember seeing that you had won, your regional level, and going, okay, and we were all very proud obviously, of you for it. And then, once the video started coming out and it was like the scope of what it was became clearer, and that this was a big deal, and I remember, and I hope you never lose it, and I don't think that you will, but how humbly you were like, so there's this thing that I'm doing, and it's this, and you sort of mumbled it off, whatever, and like, if people would be willing to vote, and I was like, Shannon, I'm like, no, we're not going to sit here and just quietly whisper, like, if people could maybe vote for me, no, we're gonna do this, because it's a big deal. And I mean, and the thing is, even if you didn't win the whole thing, which would be fucking bullshit, and we'd have to ask for a recount because we like to do that here, but like, you could, even if you didn't win it, you could still be seen by a whole bunch of industry people that would be smarter than the voting panel. You know what I mean? Like, this is a lot. So I mean, when you got notice that you had moved forward, did you just like completely lose your shit? Were you just, because you were pretty chill about it on social media, but I gotta think you at least had a moment of like, in your bathroom or whatever, like quietly.
Yeah, pretty much. Because there is so many like singers that I know that, are also so deserving of that sort of being in that poll as well. So I was very, I want to say speechless is the word. Like, I didn't know, I was a bit shocked, didn't know how to react. And then it was sort of the, okay.
Yeah. No, it's, I mean, I don't think it's an accident that you keep entering things and winning them, Shannon. Like, I mean, the very first thing that you entered, you won. So that's like, it's a pretty good track record. But I mean, so if this happens, then when would you be going to the O2? When would that be?
So I think it would be November 2024. I think the next, so the next national, but I think the winners of this year's national get to perform at next year's. And obviously, so.
I know. There's nothing we can be doing at this point, right? It's out of our hands. Now it's up to them. Okay. Because I was going to marshal everybody again, but I don't know. Maybe we find out who's on the voting panel, and people who are local can go to their houses and just stand outside with little pictures of your head on a popsicle stick or something, and just be like, hey, but don't do that because it might get them freaked out by Shannon. We'll skip the popsicle stand thing. But okay, so we will wish you very, very good luck on that. I mean, it's tremendous. And again, I mean, honestly, I think you should go for every possible thing that you can at this point. I really do, because you really don't know who's going to hear you. There's an agent or a producer or a label exec in the audience somewhere, or somebody knows somebody. You really don't know. And as I said, I think for you, because you have everything that you need, you just need the break, right? You just need somebody to go, come here, let's do this whole thing. So, I mean, if that happens, I mean, first of all, is that what you want? Is that you want to be signed to a label? You want to be like, what's your plan for your music career? Because you clearly have one. But how far ahead have you thought?
I would love that. I mean, I would love to just do music full time, like, so, I mean, I love my normal job anyway, but I love music. So like, I would just want to do that, put my music out, have people just listen to it and be able to relate to it. And because it helps me, like, obviously, sounds cliche, but writing music is like, obviously, we talked about this earlier, it's a way to get stuff off your chest.
Absolutely.
If other people feel like that, then that makes me feel good,
Yeah.
So I want to, I think my plan is to just keep doing what I'm doing, and if I get somewhere, then that's amazing. If not, I'm happy doing what I'm doing at the moment. So
okay, well, I think I think just keep letting people hear you. I think that's the thing, because it's just got to get in front of the right ears. That's what I think, but I think, and one of the cool things too is that, because you're talking now about, your music helping you as you're making it, but also helping other people as they listen to it. And again, even for me, and again, I love everything that we've talked about tonight. But again, Easier Said Than Done has a special place for me because I do relate to the lyrics as much as I do. And so you are already helping people, you know, because when I need to get amped up for something, I will often either put that one on or just play it in my head. But you also just finished organizing kind of a big fundraiser too. And I thought that was really nice. And must have been a lot of work. So, I mean, I know it's past, I know it's not June anymore and whatever, but like, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you did there too? Because I thought that was a lovely idea, and it looked like you pulled it off really well too, from what I was able to see online.
I'm not gonna lie, I was absolutely terrified. I've never organized an event before, ever. And yeah, basically the owner of a cafe/bar in the high street of my town, she approached me, and you know, I've sang in there before. She approached me and said she's looking to have someone sort of do a fundraiser for the community, for Southend's Community Fund. And she asked me whether I'd want to organise something, and I said, sure, I'll do that.
And then immediately regretted it. Like, oh my God, I don't know how to do it.
I've never done it before, but I'll have a crack at it. You know?
There you go.
So yeah, I gathered a bunch of singers that local singers that I knew.
Yeah.
And yeah, we for my first, because I was worried about, like, you know, set up, and is the music going to be all right? Is there are people going to turn up, or even going to raise money for anything?
Right.
And yeah, but I gathered some singers, you know, I got all my friends and stuff to come along, and we were advertising it for weeks, and we ended up raising just over £200 for our community. And yeah, people were coming in like off the high street, and you know, paying to come in and listening. Yeah, it was so cool. It just felt so good to actually be able to be the one, you know, sort of, because like I had people singing who, one of my close friends, Lily, she has never, well, she has now, but before that she'd never sung in front of anyone before, and it was only because she'd made an offhand comment to me once saying that I like singing, and she'd shown me a video of her singing.
Okay.
I asked her to come and sing at this event, and she was absolutely terrified, but do you know what? Props to her, because she got up on stage and she sang, and everyone loved it.
Cool.
So
well, you sometimes in your lives or in your covers, you will have other people, or you used to, but it wasn't Lily, was it?
No.
Okay.
No, in some of the other, I think I know who you're talking about in a few.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but also a very good voice. But yeah. So okay, so look at you. You're raising money for community, and you're bolstering someone enough to get on stage. Now, did Lily have the same moment that you did when she finally got on stage of like,
yeah,
okay,
because I like throughout the whole night I was going over to her, I was like, you ready? You know, there's so and so many people, and then it's you, and each time it was getting closer I'd be like, you okay? Like, you know, you got this.
Yeah.
And it got to her turn, and I was like, would you like me to stand at the side of the stage and sort of, you know, cheer you on a bit? And she was like, yes, please. And she kind of stood up. But do you know what? I don't think she needed me there, because halfway through the song, she was, you know, she was having, it looked like she was having the time of her life. And
it took over. Yeah.
It was the people in the audience as well were so lovely. Like, they were cheering her on, they were clapping throughout the song. It was so nice. It was probably the highlight of the evening, to be fair, for me personally. Anyway.
Oh, I bet. Well, because you also know what that's like. To be terrified and get up and do it anyway. And then that's a beautiful moment when you know somebody has the ability to do something, but they've been too afraid to do it. And then you see them do it and realize, like, oh my God, I can do it. I love that. So I could understand that being a highlight. And that's saying a lot, because to organize the whole thing, to have all those singers, to have everything work, and to raise all that money, like, you had a lot of highlights from that thing. So Lily, look at you. You bested all of that. You still made the top moment for Shannon on that one. Very, and I mean that again, you know, I think that's why I keep saying to you, do as much as you can, because I think what you're building for yourself is a track record that if you try something and you really put your mind to it, you seem to be able to do it. you know? I mean, so that's, I mean, now you can organize a fundraiser. That's not a thing you could do 5 months ago, you know, like that's a new skill that you have. And I mean, look, you know, maybe the next thing you organize is a festival, you know, with you and a bunch of other singers and putting stuff together. I mean, again, anything that gets you in front of as many people as possible. I think that for me, if I were, you know, your manager, that's what I would want to do, because to me, it's just a matter of finding someone who has the ability to say, okay, I can give you a deal. I can give you a record deal. I can put you on a label. I can give, you know, because as I said, you know, you have all the rest of it already. So, I mean, I love that. And I love that you took that on, you know, because you do seem like somebody who's maybe a little more, you know, introverted or whatever. And that's a big fucking, like, that's a lot to take on, to organize a whole. So good for you. And I mean, is there still a place where if people locally at least wanted to donate to the community, they could do that? Or?
Yeah. I mean, they're always raising money for the community down there.
Okay. So there you go. If you're anywhere near Shannon, which you probably wouldn't know if you were, because we're not going to say where Shannon lives exactly. You can, and plus it's on social media. You can go and find it if you're so moved. But so, and then I wanted to ask you too, because I noticed that you've been doing, you know, gigs, around. How is that like? I mean, is that something that you've done all along and we're just seeing it on social media now?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've done sort of a few private parties. I've had, you know, people message me on various like social medias, emails. Can you come and sing at this event, or, you know, so and so. Like, I'm doing something on Saturday. I forgot the day there. That's helpful. Okay. For like just a little like 40-minute set down the seafront.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, just like little gigs here and there, like charity gigs, parties, stuff like that. I did a really cool gig about 2 weeks ago. I went to this place. It's like 2.5 hours from where I live, and me and my singing teacher, we both went and we sang at this like pub, and it was so cool. It was so fun. The people there, shout out to them, because they look like they're having like the time of their lives.
Oh, cool.
It was so fun.
That's, I mean, I think that's that's got to be fun for you too, because even though it's not like a big stage, you get to connect with the people you're singing with more, like at private parties, smaller events, pubs, bars, things like that, because you're right there, you know, and you're seeing in real time people enjoying your music, because you're on stage half the time. You can't even see anything with the lights and whatever. It's like, are there even people beyond the front row? So I love that for you. And I know what you, I mean, I remember after a while that if that's all you end up doing, and, you know, it can be a little bit of a slog, but I remember the first couple years that I was gigging out like that in places like that, and what a rush that was, you know, just to be like, you know, oh my God, you know, and then you feel like you could do like another 4 sets, and it's like, no, you have to go home now. Your time is up. We're done. We're closing the place down or whatever. But so okay, so that's part of the plan then, is, you know, keep managing your social media, working on the album, you know, the collabs that are coming in, you know, your awards shows stuff that you're doing, and gigging as you can. And I mean, it sounds like people are finding you. You're not even searching for gigs, you're being requested. So you should know that that's not usually how it works, my dear. Usually you have to pound the pavement to get people to want to hire you. You don't have people just hitting you up and asking you to do it. So again, I really, because I hope that you, and I won't put you on the spot by asking, because it might make you uncomfortable, but I hope that you know how talented that you are, and that you own that for yourself, because you are very sweet, and I think you are very unassuming. And given some of what we've discussed, I could understand if maybe you didn't necessarily have the most self-confidence of anybody on the planet, but you should. You really should. And you know me enough to know I don't just say this stuff. I really don't. I mean it. I mean everything that I say. Thank you. I just, you know, you have a voice that could do so many different kinds of things. And, you know, to also have a writing voice as you do, you know, where it's catchy, as we said, but it's also meaningful. and you've got things that are important to say, and you can sing them so well. You know, I really feel like the sky's the limit for you. I just don't want you to limit yourself, you know, because when I see you, when I say things like, oh, you know, you should do this or you should do that, or you should let people hear you, but you kind of, you know, you duck a little bit. Don't do that. Don't do that. You are incredibly talented. And I think that if you can push and you can keep getting people to hear you, I think a lot of stuff is going to come. I really do. You have it. You deserve it. You know, you do, vocally and as a person, because I love that you're as talented as you are and you're not an asshole. That's my favorite combination, because I've met a lot of very talented assholes over the years, and you sort of are like, damn it, whoever's assigning this stuff, you know, when people are born, like, why couldn't you have picked a really nice guy in the corner that cannot carry a tune in a bucket? Like, why couldn't you make, you know, this guy over here play guitar like that guy over, you know? But I mean, like, so I love when I meet, and I get to do it fortunately a lot on this show, meet people who are incredibly talented and also really good people. But just, I'm not kidding when I say this stuff, Shannon. I really think that you, especially since you started so young, and you are still so young, you could really do whatever you want to do. We got to get you the right, I don't know, we got to magically find you somebody who can make that all just, you know, snap their fingers and happen. But I think it will. Do you think it will? No. Do you think it will?
Yes.
Yes, there we go. She's like, I'm lying. I know I'm supposed to say it. And she's pointing at me. So what am I going to say? Just, I mean, and look, I am being an absolute hypocrite here, because if somebody said that to me, I would be like, you know, I mean, for me, it would be more accurate to not believe it, because I don't sing like you. But I think that you really, with these 3 songs, you've impressed me so much. You know, not that it's about me, but I mean, like, I know you've impressed a lot of people. There's a reason why you're being asked to do so many collabs. There's a reason why you're being asked to do so many gigs. And I think, you know, even though you've been in this for 10 years now, you know, you're an old veteran at this point, you know, whatever, like yeah, I mean, I'm really proud of you. I hope you don't mind my saying that, because I've even over the course of this year, I've watched you just really start to take off. And it's been so nice. It's been so nice to just, you know, see every new thing that you win and every new thing that you're up for and every new song come out and everything like that. It just, you know, I love that for you. I love what you're putting out. And it is your stuff is one of the things in the house where when it's on, I will get some interest from my kids, like going like, you know, we just got a little over there from, it's, you know, just like going, oh, what's this, you know? So I mean, you know, that right there, you know, you've locked up the, you know, the demo of the kids in my house. So, but I want to ask you one random thing before we wrap up. I know this is a totally crazy thing, but in addition to songwriting, singing, everything else that you do, organizing fundraisers now and writing fan fiction, you also are into horror makeup, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
So where did that come from? And you know, because I've seen some of the pictures, it's cool. So, but like, that's just like where the hell did that come from?
I've always, probably a bit too young, I've always loved horror movies, really, and horror, just anything horror. Like, I'm major like nerd fan of The Walking Dead. That's my all-time favorite show.
Okay.
And yeah, I love Halloween and stuff. And when I was little, I always used to ask my mum, "Oh, can you do my Halloween makeup? It's make me look really cool." And I remember one year, I must have literally been about 10 or 11, and I just got a bunch of like, we had sort of, my mum went out and bought this effects makeup. And I was sort of experimenting, and I was using like tissue to make it look like I'd been like bitten by like a zombie. And one of those photos, it literally looks like the whole side of my face is like just gone.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I don't know where it comes from. I just find it fun. I think it's because I think I'm better at making myself look like a zombie than I am doing actual makeup.
It's a weird niche to fill, but hey, if you've got, no, I mean, so do you think we might see at some point a video? Like, I mean, if you did another, I know you have different plans for Freak Show, but like that seemed like that could have been an opportunity there for you to rock some of the, because even on Spotify you do have the little clips, you know, and you've got kind of that vibe there. And did I see you with short hair in that, or am I just crazy?
That's so funny because like a few people said to me like, oh, I like how you've cut your hair, right? And it was actually, I just put my hair up in a bun and flipped it to the side.
Okay, because I saw that from when you're looking up, I saw there was hair in the back, but there was a very quick shot of you and it looked like your hair was like brown or black and very short, and I was like, she looks great like that too, but like, okay. And I was like, how did she even, because I knew that wasn't a wig, and I was like, was that an old it's weird the things that go through my brain when I'm watching those things on Spotify. But yeah, so I mean, do we think we might see some Shannon Darcy horror makeup featured in some future video somewhere?
Do you know what, now you've said that, there is, without giving anything away, there is a particular song that would definitely have the potential to have that in it.
Okay, I like that. I think so. Now when that comes out and it's a platinum hit, Shannon can just thank me at the award ceremony for giving her the idea for the multi-platinum harm. Yeah, but so all right, no, I love that you, first of all, I love a good nerd. I'm a nerd, so I totally I appreciate anyone who nerds out about anything, but I just thought it was so nifty that you definitely have that, because sometimes even when you're doing more standard makeup, you'll pull out the eye makeup and you'll have more of that goth metal emo kind of look, and the corsets and the whatever, so you've got a very cool vibe. And I was like, so when I saw that, I was like, I'm not entirely surprised, and especially knowing the kind of fan fiction that you said you've worked on, I was like, but you have that, you're very sweet, but you have that slightly darker side to you that, and I think where that's great is that it's just great in general, but like it lends something like Freak Show and authenticity. Like you are very sweet, but you're probably not all peaches and cream either, which I think is a good thing. You have an edge to you. So anything we get to see that with sounds good to me. But yeah, so okay, I had to ask you about the horror makeup because I thought it looked really cool, and I was just like, when did this start? Everything, it couldn't have been that long ago. I knew that, but it was longer ago than I thought. You started on horror young, but I also feel like I should say, based on this entire interview, just as we're wrapping up, you have mentioned your mom like, a dozen times, and it seems like mom is fucking awesome. So I wanted to give you a little bit of a minute maybe to shout out mom, because I'm hearing, first thing when you started singing, mom was there, and when you wanted to go and get on stage and try it for the first time, mom was there, and when you wanted to get into the studio, mom was right there. And so I mean, it sounds like you and your mom are really, really close. I love how she's encouraged you in all of this.
Yeah, she is like a best friend. She's pretty much like been my rock my entire life. I mean, a lot of like, especially early childhood, it was just me and her.
Mm-hmm.
So we are very close, and I definitely would not be where I am and be who I am without her.
No,
she's supportive in the way that she doesn't like force, like, you sometimes get like in this industry, you get like the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's not like that at all. And that's, she's always there for me
it sounds like she is quarterbacking for you to become exactly who you are. And I feel like as a parent, that's gotta be the goal. You're not pushing your stuff on your kids. You're not keeping your kids from trying what they want to try. You're supporting, and I ordinarily don't mention that because a lot of people, on the show obviously don't talk about their moms, but they're not 19 either. But I mean, like, I kept hearing that throughout the interview, and then my mom, my mom this, my mom that, my mom that. So yay for Shannon's mom, yay Mama Darcy. We love a good mom around here. But I'm really happy for a variety of reasons that you have that, Shannon. I really am. So, okay. You know it. I know you know it. We end every episode with a little segment that we like to call In the Vox Seat. And I know right now in the chat, my seat, everybody's, so what's at stake here, Shannon. You know that you will be answering a question that will polarize the entire music community, no matter what you say. So I don't want you to be too pressured by it, but you have a few minutes before we get there. But let's start with one of the easier ones, okay?
Okay.
If you had to describe your music in 5 words or less, what would you say?
I don't know.
I know. See, even knowing the question was coming, it's still hard when you have to be the one to answer it.
Okay. I don't really know the word to give it. It's like, okay, storytelling.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw in punk because why not?
Okay. What's the concept for the word that you want? Let's get you the word that you want. What was the thing that you were thinking that you didn't have the word for yet?
Like I chose storytelling because it's just I wanted a better word for storytelling, but we'll go with storytelling.
I like storytelling. I think that's good. Okay, so storytelling and punk. We're gonna go with punk. You have 3 more words should you choose to take them.
This is so much harder than it seems.
It's hard. I know. That's the thing. People it's like when you watch a game show and you're like, oh, I knew those answers. And then if you went on the game show, you'd be like, blah, blah. So yeah, I totally feel you on that one. So, okay. Well, so you can answer it from a singing standpoint, a songwriting standpoint.
I'm going to say honest.
I like that one. I like honest punk storytelling so far. Okay.
Quite odd mix of words.
Yeah, it's good. I like it.
I'm gonna throw in creative because each of my songs have been sort of different in their own sort of way.
Yeah.
And from a songwriting perspective, I'll throw in challenging as well because I'll throw in challenging.
I like it. No, and I can come up with examples for everything that you say. I mean, the storytelling definitely honesty too, that you do put yourself into your lyrics and you put yourself into your vocals too, and I get the punk thing. That could be called a bunch of things. And I specifically didn't get into genre with you because it kind of doesn't matter for your music to me. It's like you've got rock elements, you've got pop elements, you've got little metal elements in there, you've got all kinds of stuff, but I think the genre is just Shannon. That's your genre. So, but punk, we could totally do punk. And you're right about it being creative. No, I like what you picked. I do. See, you did it. You didn't think you could do it. This one I think will be easier for you. What is your favorite thing about being a musician?
Just feeling the music, actually, being there. Like I know I've said this already, like being able to express myself and whether that be helping myself express it or even helping others express it. I just like to be able to feel what I'm doing and what I'm singing about or how I'm singing it. It's just having the music there. I feel like that answer is very weird, but I get what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think it's weird at all. And it's funny because I can see, and I mentioned this to you a long time ago, and you kind of laughed, not at me, but you laughed at the fact that I said it, that when you sing, you get this little wink, and you do this, you have this little, your nose crinkles, and it's the cutest thing ever. And I think that happens because, like a great blues singer or a great jazz singer or a great R&B singer, where you get somebody on stage where you just, from the second they open their mouth, they are telling you a story with their voice, and they're just feeling what they're doing so much. And the reason that I mentioned that little quirk if you want to call it that. And I mean it in the most loving, positive way. I really do. It's not anything negative at all. That when you do that, there's almost like an old soul quality that comes out of you to me. It's like you've been singing for 100 years, and it's because your voice can back that up. You have the ability to do what you said about being your favorite thing because of the talent that you have, and also the fact that you never seem to take what you're doing for granted. I have the feeling that if you got up and sang Easier Said Than Done for the 100th time, you would feel it just as deeply as you did the first time. And I think that resonates, for me, and it's part of what makes your music authentic. So I don't think that's a weird thing for you to have said at all. I think it's very accurate, and it fits who I know you to be too, that, your music is a gift to yourself, but it's also a gift to other people, and you didn't say that, but I am, but I am. So because I can. So, okay. But now flip side of that, what is your least favorite thing about being a musician? If you have one.
Probably not that I am copying what was said earlier, but what you said, that I can't remember who you said it now, about actually being able
Ambrose. Yeah.
Put how you feel, because like, even though obviously I did it with Easier Said Than Done, that was still challenging to actually find the right words to say. And obviously when you write a song, there's so much you've got to consider, like what words are the right words to use, how are other people going to take it. Not that you should care what other people think, but
no, but you are producing something for other people to consume, so that makes sense.
I think that is definitely not my least favorite. I wouldn't say it's my least favorite, but it's definitely a tricky thing that I find particularly, or I have found, especially with Easier Said Than Done.
Okay, so that idea of getting what you have in your head out into the world as closely as possible to each other. Okay. Yeah, that's a big one. It's very hard to do too. So, but do you feel like you mostly get there?
Yeah, I definitely feel like I do with the songs I've done so far. Yeah, I feel like I've said what I'd want to say, but getting to that point was definitely a challenge.
Well, and I mean, the fact that you could take the first go of Easier Said Than Done and like it, but realize that it wasn't what you wanted it to be. I think that will keep that happening, because you didn't just go, all right, it's good enough. You seem to have a real compass for what you want your music to be. So I think the more you listen to that, the more closely you'll get your head out into the world. So okay, I have no idea what you're going to say here, because we did not touch on this at all. But if you could only choose one album to listen to for the rest of your life.
I know this.
So, you know it. Okay, what would it be and why?
Okay, so it's probably not going to surprise people when I say it's a Youngblood album.
Okay.
Because he's like my all-time favorite artist. But it'd probably be his album Weird, because there's so many songs on that album that I can relate to. The whole album's literally about being yourself and all that, and every track has something different. Like there's there's slow songs, there's upbeat songs, there's rocky songs, and I feel like I could literally listen to it on repeat. So I'm going with Weird.
No, that's a good choice. If it gives you a bunch of stuff and you never get tired of it, then that seems to be a common thing where people will be like, okay, there's a little bit of everything on here. So, okay, Shannon, this is it. This is the moment. This is the big final question. Freaky Things and Dom are in their respective corners, getting ready to duke it out over this one. And you know what's coming, but here it is. Your toilet paper roll. When you put it on the holder, is the toilet paper coming out from over the top or under the bottom, and why?
It is, for me, it is under. Yeah.
Dom is so happy right now. Freaky, I'm sorry. Freaky, someone hold Freaky's hand, please, because Freaky is apoplectic right now. You are joining a very select group of individuals. I think you might be the 7th person total out of everyone to be in the under club. Okay, so just to clarify, your toilet paper comes out, you pulled it out from under the bottom of the roll? You are
Yes.
under, okay. Is that just the way it is in your house, or is that a personal preference? Freaky, it's okay. It's okay. Dom is so happy right now. Dom, who already loved you, loves you more than he even did before. Jam Steak is now going to sponsor everything that Shannon Darcy does going forward.
But do you know what? No, I don't know. I think it's just the way it is in my house, and yeah, it's just I'll say it's a preference. You know.
Okay, look at this.
Up our team.
Out of the gate, just not holding back. We have another under. Okay. Shannon, defying expectations till the very end. You like to surprise us with your music and now also with your toilet paper. Is there nothing you can't surprise us with? Okay. I'm letting the bombs settle in the chat right now because there's a lot happening below us at this very moment, Shannon. And I hope you haven't lost too many fans over this answer, but there it is, folks. She does what she does, and she cannot be stopped. Shannon Darcy, I adore you. I hope that's clear. I am so excited for your career and everything you're going to do. I cannot wait to hear the new music come out when it does. And I know you're keeping that to yourself, but it just means we have to stay on your social media more to catch it when it happens. That's it. So, everyone, I'm sure you many of you do, but if you do not already like her, follow her on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow her on Spotify, go do all the things, please. Would be a personal favor to moi. And really, Shannon, just keep being you, keep singing, keep writing, keep doing everything that you're doing. You are on such the right path. And I am hoping for you everything that you're hoping for you and more. And I think you will get it, and I will do whatever I can to help with that. So thank you so much for coming on this show. I have love having you.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. All right, guys, that's it. Settle down. Okay. It's toilet paper. Calm down. Calm down. That's it. That's another Vox and Guest. We will see you next time. Bye.